So a couple of things, a few of you missed the chapter 1 test last week. You need to reach out to me through email and or private chat or stick around after class to talk about when you are going to make up your tests. We are starting chapter 2 today. Your chapter 2 test will be next week on Tuesday. Also, remember, you're supposed to be spending an hour and 20 minutes of class time. That's not homework time, of class time per class. So our meetings are typically 30 to 40 minutes, which means your homework should be 40 to 50 minutes. I'm well aware some of you may not be spending that long, and that's fine. But before you say anything like it's too much work, we could be doing more in here on Zoom instead of giving it that way. Just keep that in mind. It's supposed to be an hour and 20 minutes, and that's how much work, time's worth of work I'm supposed to be assigning. And to kind of piggyback off of that, I made a survey in Google. I posted it in Google Classroom on either Thursday or Friday. About half of you did it. If you did not do it, please go do it. It should take no more than like 3 minutes. It's just to give me feedback on kind of how you guys think the class is going and what I should be adjusting moving forward. With that being said, we are starting chapter 2. So if you are using a Google Doc, open a new doc. And if you are writing your notes out, get out your paper. And we will get started. Give you guys a second to get this pulled up. So chapter 2 is income, benefits, and taxes. And so what we're going to look at today is just section 1, which is earned income and benefits. So our learning objectives. Oh, also, do not just copy and paste these notes without making them your own. You will get zeros on your assignments if you're just copying and pasting the slides. You need to do things to make them your own and not just share them with a friend. So learning objectives, you do not need to copy these down. It just gives you an idea of where we're going. We're going to list and discuss types of earned income, wages, salaries, tips, and commissions, and then going to discuss employee benefits. So earned income is income from working, i.e. means, for example, wages, salaries, tips, commissions, and earnings from self-employment. We're going to go over what each of those are on this slide and the next slide. So what wages are, and if I'm going too fast, either kind of tell me in private chat or let me know. And remember, this PowerPoint is posted on Google Classroom, so you can kind of get caught up there as well. But wages are paid for each hour, and in the US, the standard is 8-hour days and 40-hour work weeks. That's the standard. There are companies that split it up differently, but standard will be 8 hours a day and 40 hours a week. Minimum wage is the lowest pay rate allowed by law for each regular hour of work. And then overtime pay is pay received for hours worked in addition to regular hours. There is a link there for California overtime laws. There are a lot. You're welcome to browse through that if you're ever unsure. Like you have to have breaks after certain number of hours, and your rate once you hit your regular hours worked. So there is a lot of good information there. I want to apologize. I forgot to update this for 2020. I don't know about other states. California is now $13 an hour unless you work for a small company with less than 25 employees. So again, this is slightly outdated. It just gives you an idea though of kind of looking around. The darker the blue, the higher the minimum wages. Some of you I know expressed wanting to move out of state, and that just gives you an idea of minimum wage there. So salaries are a fixed amount paid per year, per month, no matter the numbers worked without overtime. Some companies will offer some sort of bonus or something in there, but a salary is going to be your fixed amount. Tips. So tips is a gift, or gifts of money based on a percent of a total bill. So typically people at like restaurants, those are going to be people that get tips. And they are supposed to pay taxes on their tips legally. Not everybody does. So if you ever worked in a restaurant, you might think like, oh, I didn't claim my tips. You are legally supposed to. And your employer must still pay you minimum wage as if you weren't receiving tips. They can't say, well, we're going to pay you only $10 an hour because you will make tips. That's not how it works. Tips are in addition to your hourly rate. And then commission is a set fee or percentage of a sale paid to an employee instead of or in addition to salary or wages. So commission, you could only be paid commission, or you could get a salary and then commission on top of that. Car salesmen typically get commission. Real estate agents are going to get commission. Real estate agents often are only paid when they sell a house or have a client buy a house. So they're not making any money until they get that commission from that transaction. So those are the sources of earned income. Now we're going to move on to the second section, which is employee benefits. So benefits are forms of compensation in addition to your salary or wages. Examples: paid vacation, holidays, health insurance. So it's not going to be money in your paycheck extra, but essentially they save you or make you more money in the long run. So some reasons benefits should be really important to you. They increase the overall value you get. So your job is worth more than just the salary. Most of these benefits are not taxed. Some benefits allow you to get something cheaper, like your health insurance. and it makes saving easier, and we'll talk about how in a minute, as you pay yourself first before you have had a chance to spend it. So again, most importantly, they increase the value of the job. So if two jobs, if you're offered two different jobs and they have a slightly different salary, you're going to want to look at more than just the salary. And I think we'll practice that next week. I could be wrong. All right. Disposable income, also known as your take-home pay and your net pay. That's money available to spend or save after your taxes have been paid. So again, if you have had a paycheck and you know you're making $13 an hour minimum wage and you go to calculate how much your paycheck should be, you know that that's not how much you actually bring home. Because they are going to take out taxes. And so what you get, the money that comes in your check, that's your disposable income. So other types of benefits are pay without working. So you get paid to take vacation or sick leave or personal leave. So those are types of benefits. Vacation, and this is more when you have your career and not just like your summertime job, but you're typically going to get 1 to 4 weeks paid vacation a year. Sick leave is paid time away from work due to illness. So if you call in sick, you'll still be paid. California, I believe, has it set up so that if you have a full-time job, you have to be paid a minimum of 3 sick days a year. But again, different jobs are going to offer you different amounts of sick leave. And then some jobs will also allow you to take personal leave or a personal day. Where it's kind of like you call in, but you're not sick. So if you're doing something and, maybe you have errands to run and you don't want to call in sick in case someone sees you, you might be able to take a personal day. Not all companies offer those. But again, it would just be a paid day off. And they're typically set up so that they can't ask you why you're taking that day off. Other benefits include insurance. So there's health insurance, which we know can be very costly. So if one company offers you health insurance and the other doesn't, that could be a big factor. Life insurance, some companies offer life insurance, which we know basically what life insurance is. It's a payout essentially if you were to pass away somehow. It can be a small amount to cover funeral expenses, or it could be a large amount that your family could use to kind of live off of since you will no longer be providing income for them. Disability insurance is another type of employee benefit. It typically covers 50 to 70% of your salary. What disability insurance is if you are hurt and cannot go back to work. Workers' compensation is very similar, but different. Workers' compensation is if you get hurt on the job. So if you get hurt on the job, you can get workers' compensation. That means they're going to pay all of your medical bills and all of your wages while you are unable to return to work. Disability is you're hurt and you can't go back to work, but you didn't get hurt on the job. And so you're typically only getting 50 to 70% of your salary, which could be a huge pay cut if that's kind of what you're living off of and your only source of income. And then there are health spending accounts. There's a health savings account and a flexible spending account. They are fairly similar. Basically, you set money aside each paycheck, and they can either be pre-taxed or earning interest. And then their money to spend on medical bills and things like that that come up that are unseen potentially. And so you already have that money set aside. More employee benefits are retirement plans. So way back a couple slides ago, it said something about paying yourself first. This is what it's talking about. You want to kind of put your money into retirement as soon as you can. If your job offers something with a retirement plan, take it. Even if it's not a job you plan on staying at, we'll look at how that money grows over time. But a retirement plan is an account into which employees voluntarily contribute a portion of their earnings for their retirement. So voluntarily, you do not have to put money into your retirement plan, though I highly recommend it. And another benefit or perk is that oftentimes employers may match these contributions. So a lot of jobs will have a set amount, either a dollar amount or a percent that they will match. So they might say, if you put 3% into your retirement, typically known as a 401k, we will also put 3% into it. They will match what you put in. That's just extra money that they're giving you. Your salary stays the same, but they're putting extra money into that retirement for you. Pension plans are another type of retirement plan that we will look at later down the road as well. Profit sharing is a benefit that allows employees to share a portion of the business's profits. So if your company is doing really well and they have profit sharing set up, you may get some sort of bonus. A stock option is the option to buy shares of stock at a predetermined price within a certain period of time. So it's not necessarily ongoing, though it could be, but you have options. Some companies offer stock options, so you can buy stock in their company. And the reason for these like profit sharing and stock options are if you're helping that company be successful, or you know you're going to get something out of that company being successful, you might be willing to put more into it to ensure that they are more successful. That's why they offer these benefits. And then other perks, these are just examples. This is not a definition. They could have on-site daycare, fitness centers. You could get to use a company car, tuition reimbursement, other things that may save you money that are another benefit or a perk to the job. And again, these kind of things are typically not taxable. So it's kind of like you're saving money and not being taxed. So you're double saving. So this is really, really important. And you're not going to remember all of these benefits down the road if you're going to, finish high school, then go get your degree and then start looking for a job. You're not going to remember all of this. Or if you're going to join the military, it's obviously going to be different. But you want to compare the total compensation package, not just the salary when comparing job offers. So if there's a $10,000 difference in salary, but one of them is going to pay, but the lower paying job is going to offer full health insurance and the other one doesn't, if you're doing health insurance for a whole family, you're married and you have children, then you might be paying more than $10,000 a year in health insurance. So keep those things in mind about the whole package and not just the salary. Yes, that number is nice and it's appealing, but there's more you want to look at. There are a couple of other slides here that I just didn't end up deleting, so don't worry about those. That's it for our slides because we already talked about that. Yeah. So we are going to do some math notes pretty quickly. Or next, I don't know why I said quickly. So let me show you what it looks like. Something. So this is in Google Classroom. When I posted the assignments for the week, I posted it there. It's the calculating pay worksheet. It is a Google Doc that you can make a copy of and type in. If you want to print it, you are welcome to print it. If you want to just write these in your notebook, you can. Here's a couple of things. When I do math and show my work, you must have all of that work on your paper. A lot of you turned in like our math notes from last week without all of the work shown out, and you will not be getting credit in the future. So anything I write on here needs to be on your paper. Any of the math, you don't have to write all of this unless you like to date your papers and such. So give me a minute if you need to copy this or print it. If you need to go back and find it. Also in Google Classroom, while we're waiting, I originally typed that today's homework was problem 19. It's 1 through 19. I updated it, so it should be correct now. But if you looked earlier, your homework is not just problem 19. It is 1 through 19. Okay, so this first problem, this is like what we already were doing in chapter 1. So this is the equation here. So, sorry, let that focus. You will want to write the equations down. If it's something you already know, fine, and you're not going to need it. But straight time pay, that's kind of your gross pay before any deductions. That's what we were already doing, your hourly rate times your hours worked. So if somebody worked 35 hours at $12.50 an hour, we would do 35 times $12.50. Move it over a little bit so I can get the calculator. So 35 times $12.50. So this person is making $437.50. Make sure you do not write just 0.5, you write 0.50. If somebody worked 36.75 hours, that should have an S on it, at $15.25 per hour, so 36.75 times 15.25. Notice after my decimal, I have 4 digits. Money always goes to 2 digits. So $560.44 because after the 3 is a 7. So we're going to round that up to 44 cents. Okay, number 3 is where it gets a little bit different. This is the newer stuff. So overtime pay. To calculate overtime pay, it's the overtime rate times the overtime hours worked. There's a little dot in there for multiplication again. And then to get the total pay, it's the gross pay. That's the same thing. That's again before taxes. It's the straight time pay plus your overtime pay. Okay, so here Anita earns $9.50 for a regular 40-hour work week. So for every hour, she's making $9.50. Her overtime rate is 1.5 times her regular rate. Last week, she worked 8 hours of overtime in addition to her regular 40 hours. What was her total pay? So first, we'll go ahead and do her straight time pay just like we did up top. And it really doesn't matter what you do first. So her straight time pay is without any overtime. So 40 regular hours at $9.50 per hour. All right, so 40 times $9.50. So if Anita didn't work any overtime, she would have made $380 last week, or whatever week this was, before taxes. She also makes overtime. So her overtime pay, to calculate overtime pay, we need her overtime rate times the overtime hours worked. It tells us she worked 8 hours of overtime, but it doesn't tell us her rate. So we also have to calculate her overtime rate. So she normally makes $9.50 an hour. Her overtime rate is 1.5 times her regular rate. So 1.5 we should know is the same as 1.5 multiplied by the $9.50 she normally makes. So 1.5 times $9.50. So her overtime rate is she's making $14.25 an hour. So every hour over 40 hours, she's making $14.25. So her overtime pay, it tells us, so we know she's making $14.25 an hour, and she worked 8 hours of overtime. So those 8 hours of overtime earned her $114. So for her total pay, we're going to do the straight time pay, her 40 hours, plus anything she made from overtime, which is $114. So $494. This is also similar to what we did in chapter 1. So the salary per pay period is the annual salary. Annual means per year, and then divided by the number of pay periods per year. So the county medical center advertised an RN position at a starting salary of $420,000. Find the weekly salary and the monthly salary. So we need to calculate two things, the weekly salary and the monthly salary. So for the weekly salary, and these are almost done the exact same way, we take the annual salary, so the $420,000 offered, divided by the number of pay periods per year. Well, if it's weekly, there's 52 weeks per year. So 420,000 divided by 52. Notice we're going to have to round. This position makes $8,076.92 per week. Notice I left it at 92 because after the 2 was a 3. For the monthly salary, we take that same annual salary and we divide by the number of months, which we all know there's 12 months in a year. So that would be $35,000 per month. And then we have one last problem here. So commission is the total sales times the commission rate. And then for this problem, the gross pay is the salary or commission, whichever is higher. So Sandra works in a clothing boutique. She is guaranteed a minimum weekly salary of $320 or 6.5% of her sales, whichever is greater. If she sold $5,000 worth of clothing and accessories last week, what is her gross pay? So we need to figure out the commission and see what one's going to be the bigger number, the $320 or her commission. So commission here is the total sales. Well, her sales were $5,000 multiplied by her commission rate. So we need to remember that 6.5%, that's 0.065. We have to turn it, get rid of the percent by moving the decimal 2 places. So 5,000 times that rate of 0.065. $5,000 times 0.065. So Sandra would make $325 from commission. So her gross pay is either her salary of $320 or her commission, whichever is greater. So since her commission is more than $320, her gross pay is just going to be that commission of $325. You don't add them, subtract them. You just pick whatever one is bigger for a problem like this. 325 is greater than 320, so that's how much money she's going to make. So that is it on our classwork. Just a couple of little reminders. A few of you need to contact me about chapter 1 tests. Your chapter 2 test is next week on Tuesday. Your homework tonight is from the book, section 2-1, numbers 1 through 19. All of this is going in a Google Doc for the week that is due on Friday by 4 p.m. I think that is it. If you have other questions, stick around, ask me in the chat or email me. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock.